Several years ago, when I was nearing the end of my brief military career, I got a couple tattoos at this place called Orange Tattoo Company in Annapolis, Maryland. Apparently, the guy who owns the place did the ink for Metallica, which is pretty rad, but even then I couldn't afford his services and went with one of the other artists. I can't specifically remember his name, but he was a really chill dude. Cost me about $250 for this one here, and also the one on my wrist, which, considering their quality, is insanely cheap. And don't you worry, I gave the artist one hell of a tip, something like 60-75%. But why did I get this bad boy specifically? Well, seeing how permanent tattoos are, I want every new piece of ink I get to mean something profound and special to me. Something that hopefully I won't cringe at in 5 to 10 years down the road. So, there's something of a story behind all of my tattoos, and I figured a YouTube video might be a good place to share these thoughts. So I hope you get a little something out of this ramble here. Maybe you'll learn something, maybe you'll get some enjoyment out of it, or, or maybe not. Fuck you, who cares? I don't need your approval, Dad. Memento mori literally translates to, remember you will die. It's a Latin phrase, a language I learned back in middle school. Now, Latin is a dead language, but a lot of high-level English is based in Latin, so it made learning a lot of stuff later in life a lot easier. Anywho, when I was a kid, my father was also in the military, so despite our poverty, I was able to see most of Europe before high school. It was on one of our frequent sightseeing tours in some cathedral that 12-year-old me first saw the phrase Memento mori carved into a plaque adorning the gravesite of some bishop or saint or whatever. Anyway, there's a real sense of weight and importance to such a phrase, and something fucking metal about it that appeals to me on a very visceral level. But you see, it also ties into my religious beliefs, or more appropriately, my lack of religious belief. You see, as an atheist, I'm not convinced we have a soul, or that there's any sort of afterlife. In fact, I think it's much more likely that when you die, the light that is your consciousness is forever extinguished. But see, that's the crazy thing. Most people don't actually believe that they will die. Whether it's reincarnation, resurrection, or some other crazy bullshit, the overwhelming majority of humanity believes that their consciousness will somehow survive brain death. Meaning, in a very real sense, they don't believe that they will die. Now, confronting the fact that in the not-too-distant future you will cease to be it's a hard pill to swallow, which, makes sense why most people live in denial instead. But knowledge of your imminent demise isn't without its perks. Because I believe that existence is a limited time offer, it makes the time I do have seem all the more precious to me, which leads into another reason that I decided to get this tattooed onto me. It's a constant reminder to take advantage of the time I do have to live the kind of life I want to live. It's kind of like a more respectable and badass version of YOLO, if you will. Carpe diem, more like carpe d's nuts. Am I right? I also really like the way the expression has been specifically phrased. Remember, you will die. An imperative not just that I accept my death, but that others accept their own death as well. I think part of the reason that this idea resonates so strongly with me is that it reflects my political beliefs as well. The fact that we're all human beings, that intrinsic to our existence is suffering and eventual death, and that means that, at least in terms of mortality, death is the ultimate equalizer. You see, there are people who believe themselves to be a higher class of being, that they are inherently better than others, and as such deserve to be treated superior to others. Now, whether that supremacy is justified on racial, intellectual, or cultural basis, it really doesn't matter. They're all dead wrong. Now look, I'm not perfect. I don't always do something about those kinds of degens.
Racists.
Goddamn right. Racists is definitely degens.
Homophobists.
No, homophobes is definitely degens.
But on my best days, I'd like to think I'm the kind of bastard who stands up to those in power who rule over us like gods and say, hey man, you're gonna die. Hey man, you're gonna die too someday. Memento mori, motherfucker.
誰もの背中くたびれた気配